Welcome to class. This is the WeEvolve method gentle Vinyasa sequence. It's still a pretty vigorous class, but it's an alternative to the WeEvolve method power Vinyasa sequence. Classes like that are not really a part of my personal practice anymore. I like to move in such a way that I'm never outstripping the breath with movement. So I love a vinyasa where I can take a full 4 to 8 count breath in each pose rather than that rapid movement. And really, that's when stuff becomes more rhythmic and methodical. And I would also say vinyasa doesn't mean fast, and it seems to mean that in modern Western yoga circles. But vinyasa krama is to place things in a particular way. It's to make a wise progression, and it's a pose giving birth to a pose, right? So it's not speed, it's actually intentional placement and the ordering of steps. So with that in mind, we're going to move into a flow practice, but with a little less speed, still vigorous, still challenging, but a little kinder and more gentle, tender approach to ourselves. I have my student Mark here. He's going to be the body that you can watch to keep up if you need to look up at the screen. I may adjust him from time to time or have you have a look at Mark's body so you can see what it is that you are working towards. So please begin in Balasana, child's pose. Take your knees a little bit wider than your hips. Stretch your arms forward and rest your forehead on the mat and your seat on your heels. And right away, take a moment in this integration shape to attune to your breathing, to connect your hearing to your breathing, to that oceanic sound that soothes the soul. And this is a really sweet place because you can feel the breath moving into the back body by virtue of the little bit of compression on the belly. And that ujjayi breath is nice to apply here. So a little constriction around the vocal cords, the glottis, so you can make a sound like you are fogging up a mirror. Your breath matching with the tide of the planet. Breath comes in, breath comes out. I'm going to start with really simple movements to just link movement and breath, body, mind, and breath. So on your next inhale, come up to all fours and soften into a little back bend, belly towards the floor. Super nice. Good. And then as you exhale, tuck your chin and your tail and press back to child's pose. Once again, allow the elbows to fall to the floor. Good. Again, inhale up to all fours, soften the belly towards the floor. And as you exhale, tuck the chin and the tail and move back. And now please continue and find a place where the breath and the movement never stops. So there's no pause at the bottom of the exhale and no retention of breath at the top of inhale. There's just seamless breath and movement, letting the length of the breath dictate how long you're moving in each position. Really nice. 2 more. Last time. And then pause in the child's pose for a moment and feel the intervention on the body. It's a real gift to pause in between things that we impose on the body, to get a little inquisitive and to feel what's present, to notice what has shifted in our inner state, rather than having our practice be so, again, impositional. Inhale and come up to all fours. Bring the knees under the hips, curl your toes under, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And for a moment, pedal through your feet, or do whatever it is that you like to do in a dog when you first arrive. Good. And then we're going to find a slightly more Katona style downward facing dog. So I'm going to correct Mark a little bit here, and this is good for everyone. Come down to all fours for a moment, Mark, and spin your hands in, and when your middle fingers are touching one another, that is shoulder distance apart. So it's much narrower than you were, and then spin on the heel of the hand, the fingers forward. Yes, good. And now find down dog. And you actually could even soften the fingers a little bit and not be so wide and put some of the weight here. Yes, I know it feels very strange. And then I'm going to give him a really gentle adjustment at the shoulder, but there we go, so that he's not working so hard. Now find a little bend in your knees. And now imagine okay, so I'm going to say something very weird. If your pubis was a nose, your coccyx is a mouth, stick your tongue out. Look at that. See, it's a weird cue, and maybe not such a big bend in the knee, way more subtle. Yeah, right there. Look at that. That's so nice. That's a beautiful down dog. Now it's a nice 60-degree triangle. Good. A couple more breaths here. He's working a little harder than I want him to, but that's another conversation. Good. Nice, Mark. And then walk your feet forward to your hands to a forward fold. And take your time. Good. Separate your feet hip distance apart. So measure 2 fists between your arches. That's exactly hip distance. And then take opposite palm to opposite elbow and just hang over the legs. That's super nice. You can see Mark has a really good crease in his hip, which is what we want, that first origami fold. And then you can think that you're lifting from the back of your knees to your buttock bones, but keeping the full contact. So where you have contact, currency can move. So there's this real sense that you're pressing into the ball of the foot, and then there's a spread and a lift of the seat out of the back of the knee. That's really nice, beautiful. A couple more big breaths here. This is to help to open up the kidney band. It's forward folds are all about how we get over ourselves, right? It's how we get the monkey off of our back, and they're a nice way to enter into our practice. Good. Nice. So you have a couple choices for standing up. Most people, it's going to be best for you to come up with a flat back, but you can also roll the spine up. To roll the spine up, Mark's going to let his arms dangle to the floor, and he's going to let his torso get super heavy, because what we don't want to use when we roll up is the back. So I want you to think that your knees are 2 balls, and balls throw and mitts catch. So the knees are going to throw forward. His legs are, yes. And now keeping the torso super heavy, we start to roll up. When you can't come up anymore, drive your pubic bone forward, and that will put the wave through the spine to take you all the way to stand. Yes. Do you feel how that's not in the back at all? It's so nice. Good. We're going to warm up the legs and the back a little bit before we move into any sun salutations. So dynamic Utkatasana, or dynamic chair pose. Inhale, stretch your arms up alongside of your ears, and use your exhalation to sink into your chair. Take the second half of the exhale to bring your belly to your thighs, keeping the legs bent. Release the arms and the head. Nice. Inhale, sit back in your chair and push all the way to stand. So a nice long breath. Good. Once again, exhale, sink the hips, belly to thighs. So beautiful. Really getting in the fold of the hip. Yes, good. Breathe in, sit back into chair. Power through the legs, unfolding the hip crease all the way to stand. Good. 3 more, please. And you at home as well. Dynamic chair is such a beautiful way to build heat and stability in the body. It's warming up the lower back muscles. It's turning on the legs. So nice. I'm not counting, so I'm going to trust Mark that he'll have done 3 more when he stands in Tadasana. So good. Excellent. 1 more, he says. Okay. I told you I wasn't counting. Nice steady breath. Good. And then pause in Tadasana with your hands at your heart or your arms at your side. And again, feel the intervention on the body. Good. Super nice. From Tadasana, we're going to move into a dynamic warrior 1 to start to open up some of the tissues of the body in preparation again for Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward facing dog, in our Surya Namaskar A, or Sun Salutation A series. So Mark, please step your left foot back for a warrior 1. And when I teach warrior 1, I really want the feet on railroad tracks. Yes, because then do you already feel how now you can bring that hip around and there's no forcing in this, right? It's so much better. Their bodies are not symmetrical, and there's no reason to square the hips in a warrior 1, especially with a heel to arch alignment in the feet. It's too much torque on the hips. It's a really old school way of teaching, and it's better for your sacroiliac joint of the pelvis if the feet are hip distance apart. So we're going to begin in a dynamic warrior 1. So straighten your front leg now and take your arms by your side. Good. So as you breathe in, you're going to bend your right knee and sweep your arms alongside of your ears. Shoulders a little bit in front of hips, almost like you were slightly pitched forward right there. Does that feel different? Good. And now exhale, straighten your leg, lower your arms in 1 movement. That's the movement. Good. 3 more times. Inhale. And exhale. Good, and keep going. Warrior one is also a bit of a spinal rotation. So there's a little sense of turning your navel point out over your front leg as you sink. Yes, so nice. This is beautiful. Good. Very nice. Pause. And then you're just going to switch your feet and turn towards the left leg. So all you have to do is pivot, yep, and then left foot open, and then adjust the right foot. Exactly. So this dynamic warrior one is a really sweet place to build your capacity for an in-breath. It's a little back bend, and it's a beautiful way to prepare the body for sun salutations, which are actually quite demanding. So straighten your front leg, arms at your side. Good. Breathe in, bend your front knee as you sweep your arms, one fluid motion. That's so nice. And exhale. Good. A couple more rounds. Building the in-breath. Like that first movement we did, the idea is to find a place where the breath and the movement never stops. And there's this really fluid experience of filling the lungs by virtue of the shape. So good. Nice. One more time. And then just turn your feet parallel and pause for a moment. And then heel toe your feet together and stand back in Tadasana at the top of the mat. Good. Now the body is well prepared for Surya Namaskar A. We often in classes, or many teachers teach Surya A right at the beginning of class. It's a lot of intensity on the back to move right into those big back bends. This first round, we're going to adapt and use a cobra pose instead of a jump back into chaturanga, but you may choose to add in full chaturanga to up dog on the next round. So standing in Tadasana, inhale Urdhva Hastasana, sweep your arms up alongside of your ears. Exhale, hinge from your hip crease, forward fold, Uttanasana. Good. Inhale, long spine, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. And then step back to a plank pose. One foot and then the other. And here, if you're still building strength, you're welcome to drop to your knees. Yes, and Mark just did a beautiful thing, which is he pushed his upper middle back to the sky. You're pushing the floor away harder than it's pushing you. So from here, we're going to lower all the way to our belly. Again, you're welcome to drop to your knees. Very nice. Good. Press the tops of the feet into the mat. Lengthen your tailbone towards your heels a little bit so you're really imprinting the pubis into the mat. And then inhale, small cobra. Good. Exhale, lower down. Inhale up to all fours. And exhale, downward facing dog. So for future rounds, that is a direction that you can take if the full Surya Namaskar A, it doesn't feel right in your body. And it's just as good. So there's no conversation around like that you need to be doing the classical full sun salutation. It might not be right for your body, and your practice is beautiful and perfect and good just as it is. So this is one choice. The other choice will be what Mark will demo for the next couple rounds. So at the bottom of your next exhalation, step, float, or walk to the top of the mat. Good. Inhale, halfway lift. There's plant matter on my yoga mat. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, arms alongside of your ears, Urdhva Hastasana, all the way up to stand. And exhale, Tadasana. Good. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. So a little more velocity now. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, step or jump back, Chaturanga Dandasana. Good. So nice. This time, upward facing dog, or Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Nice, Mark. And exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And if you've been practicing with me for any amount of time, you know I prefer to do up dog with my toes curled under. It's totally fine to do it on the tops of your feet if that's your preference. So let's hold in downward facing dog for a couple breaths. Really think that you're always wrapping your armpits towards your heart. So there's this real sense of external rotation is what that's called in the shoulder. So the pit of the armpit is coming towards the midline of the body. Last round of Surya A. Bend your knees, and at the bottom of your exhale, step or float or walk to the top. Good. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. And exhale, fold down. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, all the way up to stand. Arms alongside of your ears. And exhale, Tadasana. Good. Last round. Inhale, stretch your arms up. Exhale, hinge from your hip crease and fold down. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, step or float back, Chaturanga Dandasana. Good. Inhale, upward facing dog. So nice. And exhale, downward facing dog. Hold and breathe. Good. Good. Take 2 more deep breaths in downward facing dog. And then at the bottom of your exhale, step or float to the top of the mat. Good. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. And exhale, fold down. Good. Inhale all the way up to stand, arms alongside of your ears. And exhale, Tadasana. Good. Interlace your fingers at your lower back. And as you wrap the armpits towards the heart, see if you can simultaneously broaden the collarbones and also the space between the scapula. So, yes, and then lift the knuckles up and back. Good. Now bend your knees, Utkatasana, chair pose. Good. And then belly to thighs, straighten the legs best you can, taking the knuckles up and overhead. Good. Just starting to prep the shoulders for our back bends. The Warrior One is facilitating preparation for back bends and that opening and building of the inspiration, the in-breath, and this is another place we can tap into that. Good. Sit back into chair pose once again. Lift the chest. Keep the knuckles back. Yes, all the way up to stand. Very good. And then release the clasp arms at your side. Good. Inhale, stretch your arms up once again alongside of your ears, and exhale and forward fold. Good. Inhale and halfway lift. And you can skip the vinyasa here and go straight to downward facing dog, or if you wish, take the vinyasa, chaturanga, up dog, down dog. There's nothing sacred about a chaturanga unless you make it so. So if today is not the day for 12 chaturangas, just skip it. Good. So now, Mark, take your right leg up high to the sky. Good. Take your knee to your nose and step your right foot between your hands. Beautiful. Nice. We're going to take a crescent lunge here, and I want to talk about this for one moment. We're going to do a high lunge, and you already did something that I want you to not do. So Mark doesn't know yet what I'm going to say to him, but when the heel is back really low, it's like you have a flat tire. Yes. So when the heel is back, and it's how most teachers teach, push your heel back for a second. Do you feel how now it's like very collapsed? So if body's a vehicle, he has a flat tire. So lift your back heel. Do you feel how now your sacrum's in line with your shoulders? Good. Now get your right knee over to the side a little bit, and you too at home, so your knee is right in line with your armpit. Yes. Good. Now keep all of that stability and just unfold from the hip crease. It's going to feel real strange because you haven't done it like this before. Yes. Look at that. That is stunning. So nice. Now hook your thumbs and then pull the thumbs apart as you, again, wrap the armpits towards the heart. So there's this counteraction, and drive your pubic bone forward because, yes, do you feel how now there's no compression in the back? So you drive the pubis forward, you stack the heel, and he's in the fold of the hip. It's so beautiful. Good. Take your hands to your lower back, interlace them, and now push the knuckles back, open the chest. And same concepts apply. Broaden the collarbones and the scapula at the same time. Yes, because that gives full opening, right? So we're not collapsing one part of the body to open something else. That's so beautiful. Good. Take a deep breath in, stretch your arms up, and then take your hands to the mat and step back to downward facing dog or the vinyasa. I'm going to leave that up to you. Good. Nice. And pause for a moment. Take a nice deep breath. It's a different way of organizing the shape, but so often what we do is we try to unfold something that's not folded correctly, if that makes sense. So asana is origami for the body, and like you're not a piece of paper though, so you have fits and folds, and you're not flat. And the first fold of the body is the fold of the hip. And in origami, if you mess up the first fold, you don't end up with a party hat, right? So if you want to, let's say that this warrior pose, because that's what it is, it's a worship, you're not going to end up with a warrior if the first fold, the fold of the hip, is off. So stretch your left leg up to the sky. And then knee to nose, step your left foot forward. Yes, and now get your knee in your armpit because that is hip distance apart and you're meant to fit yourself. And then this back heel nice and high because the ball of the back foot is a lung. And now your sacrum is in line with your shoulder. Yes, you just corrected it. So lengthen from your pubic bone through the crown of the head and then unfold it. Yeah, see, then you don't have to change anything and then drive the pubic bone forward. Yes, that's so good. That's beautiful. Nice. Hook the thumbs the opposite way. Wrap your armpits towards your heart. Pull the thumbs apart. That looks so good. And then take the hands to the lower back. Same principles. Interlace the fingers. Push the knuckles back. Broaden the collarbones and the space between the scapula. That's it. Good. Next in-breath, sweep your arms up. And then hands to the mat. Optional vinyasa. Good. And then take a moment of stillness in the downward facing dog. Just allow the body to settle and feel those interventions. Super good. Very nice. Nice. We're going to walk the feet forward to the hands and make our way to a seat. So there's lots of ways that we could do this all fancy. You could come down through a squat. Mark just did a little fancy thing. You can also just sit down, right? Like everything doesn't necessarily have to be a transition into something else, although sometimes it's fun. So we're going to fire up the abdominals a little bit before we move through the rest of the sequence. The navel center holds a really special place in the yoga tradition. It's where your courage and your spontaneity is. It's the elevated qualities of mind. This is also true in a lot of Eastern traditions, that the navel center is a potent place of storing energy, of transformation. And so we work our abdominals not for a bikini body, but so that we can build these qualities in ourselves and really work with the subtle body. So we're going to begin in Navasana, and we're going to start with Ardha Navasana. And some of you may choose to straighten your legs as we progress, or you may choose to stay holding on. So Mark, bring your legs out in front of you. And bend your knees and grab onto the backs of your thighs and lean back till just your big toes are on the floor. Yeah, so you could actually stay here, right? Like there's a lot of work here, pulling the abdominals back, broadening your chest. It's almost like you have a string from the sternum to the sky, right? Now step 2 is to lift the shins if you wish. So this is another option. Yes, and then yogi toes, push through the balls of your feet. Yes. Option 3 would be to let go of your hands and squeeze your thighs towards your chest and your chest towards your thighs. And if you wish, you can straighten your legs. So not required. Yes. Nice, Mark. Big breath. 2 more big breaths, you guys. It's totally fine to retreat from a situation. Last breath. Good, and relax. Nice. It's so fine to back off of a place if you get in there and you're like, you know, this is not for me today, right? And it doesn't have to mean anything about who you are or even about your day. Like we're so different every day. Our balance, our energy levels, like Mark just worked out before he came here, right? So our energy levels, everything is so different every day. Honor where you're at. Don't override the body. There's times we do need to override the body to grow, but our society is very much stuck in override the message of the body all the time towards some kind of perfectionism, and that's not helpful, right? So we're going to lower onto our back, and you can do that with some, kind of Pilates style. Mark's going to reach his fingertips forward, tuck his tailbone, and roll down. And then we're just going to stay here. I'm just kidding. Class is over at the end. That would be nice, right? But no, we're going to do some yogi bicycles. So bend your knees and then stack your shins parallel to the floor. Good. Interlace your hands behind your head and really support your head with your elbows nice and wide. Curl your head, neck, and shoulders up. Good. Nice. Yep. And then extend your right leg. Good. And now take your right elbow towards your left knee. Good, and then switch. Yeah, nice and steady here. So slow is smooth and smooth is fast, to quote the Navy SEALs, I believe are the ones who came up with that. Might have been the Marines. Sorry if I'm misquoting, but slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So there's no reason to rush. And slow movements through space with good alignment is a lot of strength. right? So, and we don't need to do so many of these that we want to die. It's just like get a little heat and sensation around the belly, build some stability at our core center. How about one more set to each side? Yes, I'm not doing it, so I'm like, how about one more, Mark? Good. You at home too, one more. Good. And then rest for a moment. And yes, so here in between, it's nice to just bring the feet to the floor in this core resting pose, even knees together, because then the psoas muscle can relax, the femoral head can rest in the socket, and you can really just kind of let go for a moment. Good. Super nice. One more exercise here. Take your right knee into your chest and extend your left leg along the floor. Good. A little stretch in the hip, exactly. And then interlace your fingers behind your right thigh and straighten your leg to the sky. Yes, best you can. Good. A little tension between the hands and the hamstring and the hamstring and the hands. So you're playing a little game of tug of war with yourself. Very good. Good. And then take your left knee into your chest. Same thing, just a little prep. You're like, wait, this isn't an ab exercise. It will be in a moment. Good. Yes, hands to thigh, thigh to hands, a little tug of war. Good. And now we're going to borrow from the Pilates tradition. So you can keep that leg lifted. Now you're going to curl your head, neck, and shoulders up and reach for your ankle. Good. And then hover this guy off of the floor. Good. And then switch legs. Yep. Just in and out. Now in Pilates, you'll hear this little shoo, shoo, and they'll do this little pulse, pulse with the leg. Pulse, pulse. We're not going to do that. Just a little leg switch. Just firing up your hip flexors, your abdominals, little bonus hamstring stretch. Good. Nice. Couple more, Mark. We don't need to do a lot to make changes in the body. And I'm sort of always after, what's the maximum benefit I can get with the least amount of change, right? Because you want your student, and I want you guys, I want anyone who's in my class to leave feeling more balanced than when they came in, not less. Not totally drained, a puddle on the floor. Good, last set. Yeah, and then knees. Mark's like, I'm done. Knees to chest. I can take a hint. I can't see you guys at home, but I can take a hint. Maybe I should always have a person in the room. Good. Little massage of the lower back. Nice. So rather than the rock and roll vinyasa and the jump back into chaturanga, we're just going to roll over to one side or all the way up and over the ankles to all fours. Whatever feels appropriate. Yep. You can have a seat and then come back to all fours and downward facing dog. Good. And then take a moment in downward facing dog. And then because we just did all that abdominal work, I want you to keep your toes curled under and come forward to a plank. You're like, wait, this is more abdominal work. And now keep your toes as there. Drop your pubic bone towards the mat into up dog with the toes curled under. Yes. So good. And then really draw the chest. Yeah. Little opening for the abdominals after that ab work. Good. So beautiful. And back to down dog. See, there was a stretch in there. Good. Nice. Take your right leg up high to the sky and step your right foot between your hands. Good. This time, Virabhadrasana 2. So pin your back heel to the mat and lift your torso. Good. Super nice. So in this shape, there's a little sense of an internal spiral on the left leg. The right hip is wrapping underneath of you in what we call external rotation. And you want your navel center ever so slightly to the left so that you can, so you can really breathe into the upper middle back. Good. One more big deep breath. Inhale and straighten your right leg. And exhale, Trikonasana. Really beautiful. Good. Stacking the shoulders, thinking of turning the right side of the chest towards the sky. That's really beautiful. And you can sort of image that you are squeezing a giant beach ball between your legs. So there's a lot of activation in the leg. That looks super nice. And you'll notice Mark's leg isn't locked out. He's keeping a little micro bend in his right knee so that his hamstring is actually engaged even as it's being stretched. Good. And extended side angle. Bend the right knee. So good. Yes, and I like to make that big. I call it the air guitar, my left arm in front of my face. Good. And then the adaptation for this is to bring your right elbow to your right knee, which Mark can show. Yes, very good. And then he's not using his knee as a kickstand, right? He's still lifting and creating some elevation. Super nice. Good. Beautiful. One more big full breath here. And then cartwheel your left hand down onto the floor and step back either through a vinyasa or straight to downward facing dog. Awesome. Beautiful. Doesn't that feel good with the toes under? Super nice. And downward facing dog. Really good. I'm going to go right into the other side. Take the left leg up high and step your left foot between your hands. Good. Pin your back heel to the mat. Virabhadrasana 1. Or 2, pardon me, don't do Virabhadrasana 1. So here you can really see, if Mark looks down, he can see his second toe because he's pushing his left knee out. And then the back right thigh, there's a little bit of a sense of a spiral. And then he's going to push into my fingers. Yes, give me these. Yeah, there you go. Nice. And navel center is ever so slightly to the right. Good. Straighten your left leg. Inhale. And exhale, Trikonasana. Little micro bend in the left knee, and then this real sense of spiraling the left side of the left side of the torso towards the sky. Super nice. One more big breath. And extended side angle. Nice. That arm, that sweep of the arm can really help you to start to find that spiral in the chest. So in an extended side angle, you want to think that in this case, your left bum cheek, you want to keep it on its own side on the mat. Like it's going to want to crawl out and off of the mat. Keep it towards the midline. And then there's that real sense of the left side of the chest spiraling up towards the sky so that you can get all of this opening from the hip to the armpit. Good. One more big breath. And then take your right hand down to the floor and a vinyasa or straight to downward facing dog. Super nice. Good. We're going to do that whole thing again, but we're going to add 2 poses to it and amp things up a little bit. Take your right leg high to the sky. Step your right foot between your hands. Good. Pin your back heel down, warrior 2. Stay here, exhale. Big in breath, straighten your right leg, and exhale, Trikonasana. Very good. Here's where we're going to have a little change. Bring your left hand to your hip, look down at your right foot, and transition into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. Yes, so nice. And you can see here Mark's really activating his left leg. So it's almost like if I had a giant rubber band around his 2 ankles, he's creating some resistance for himself. Yes, and then the left arm up to the sky. And it's totally fine to look down. Like the pose isn't going to be a lot better when you can look up. So look where you need to look to be stable in the shape. Good, nice. And it's always easier to make this transition if you bring your hand to your hip. So you can bring your left hand back to your hip, and now we're going to step back into extended side angle. So nice, good. That was beautiful. Big breath. Beautiful. Second transition here. Now bring your left hand to the mat. And you're going to step back to Vashisthasana on your left hand. He's like, wait. Yes, there we go. So nice. Stack the shoulders. I got a little tricky on him there. He wasn't expecting that. You have to sneak attack this one. So the left hand is the base, right? You had your right hand down in side angle, left hand comes down, and you can spin it open. You also, as a modification, could always come down onto the left knee. Good. One more big breath. Right hand to the mat, optional vinyasa. Good. And then take a real moment in down dog here because that's difficult, right? Those are difficult transitions. They're difficult poses. When I said gentle, I more meant it wasn't fast, right? That's what we mean by gentle. It's not fast. Good. Good. Last time, take your left leg up to the sky. And transition your left foot between your hands. Pin your back heel down, warrior two. Stay for the exhale. Straighten your left leg, breathe in, and exhale, Trikonasana. Really nice, good. And then you can take your right hand to your hip, look down at your left foot, and make your transition into Ardha Chandrasana. So bending the left knee and lifting the right leg up. And you want to lengthen your tailbone into the body and knit your lowest ribs together so you're not over pop. Yeah, that looks so nice. Really beautiful. That lifted leg is really being activated from your glute medius, so you're using your glutes. Nice. One more breath. And then gently transition into extended side angle. And that might look like a pit stop in warrior two for some of us, right? It's totally fine. That was gorgeous. Good. Really big turn of the chest, creating that long line from the pinky edge of the back foot all the way through the fingertips. Really nice. And then Vashisthasana on the right side. Let's show them the adaptation. So bring your right hand down and come to your right knee. And now transition your left leg back. Yeah, so this would be the modification. Yeah, exactly, Mark. Nice. That's the adaptation that you can do. And then now if he wants to step his foot back, he might like it better there. Nope, he's going for it. Full Vashisthasana. So nice. And you can see Mark's not allowing his body to collapse in the waist. He's really lifting the hips up. So beautiful. And then left hand to the mat. Last chance for a vinyasa. If you're like, shoot, I didn't do enough chaturangas today. Good. And back to down dog. Really nice. Let's hold here for about 5 breaths. 3 more full deep breaths. Just letting the heart rate come down. Good. And transitioning to our floor series, come down to all fours and come to stand on your knees. Mark, turn and face the camera. So our next posture is Parigasana, or gate pose. So Mark, take your right foot out towards the long edge of the mat. And the adaptation for this is actually to come to the knee. So you can be here if that's too much in the hips. Otherwise, you're going to straighten the leg out to the side. And here we want to make sure that the left hip is directly over the left knee. Good. Nice. And then take your arms out to the side with your palms up. And we want to keep the palms up so that we're really creating space and length through the side body. Lengthen your tailbone slightly towards the floor and pull your pubic bone gently towards your navel center. Take a deep breath in and then go up and then tilt up and over to the right. Parigasana, and keep the palm up. Everyone wants to put the palm down, but yeah, to feel the difference across your chest, it's a very different thing. We want the hand down because we want to use it like a kickstand. Even though there's not a lot of weight in it, it's amazing how that little bit, you're like, it's relief. But when this is open, we're broadening and opening this collarbone. And collarbones, if your body is a house, which it is, you live in it, it's the abode in the womb of your spirit, your collarbones are the windows to the living quarters of the house, the torso. So we always want to be opening up the collarbones and broadening that piece of ourselves so we can potentiate and catch a good cross breeze through the house, right? Good. One more big full breath here. Really creating length from the hip all the way up to the armpit. Very nice. Use your in-breath to come up. And then take your right knee and sit back on your heels for a moment, and you'll feel there's a lot of change in the body pretty quickly with those deep side bends. This whole sequence, while there's a few forward folds at the beginning, it's really a laterals practice. Lateral means side bending, and that's really what we're working on, is back bends and side bends, and those pair really well together. They're enlivening and inspiring. Okay, let's do the second side. So come back to stand on your knees and then extend your left leg out to the side. Good. And it's fine if you come off your mat. No one ever died that way. And then you're shifted a little over. I want you to come yeah, it's really subtle, but does that feel a little different? Good. And then take your arms out to the side. Draw, again, your pubic bone slightly towards your navel center and lengthen your tailbone. Take your palms up. Deep breath in, lift off of the kidneys, and then keep that palm now. Yes, so different, right? Because we're still thinking in every shape that we're wrapping the armpit towards the midline of the body. That's that cue. Take your armpits towards your heart. really lengthening from the hip up to the armpit. Super nice. And then big breath here, because the purpose of a pose like this is to open up these tissues that support inspiration or inhale. And the more we open up these intercostal muscles of the ribs, open up the side body, we can receive our breath. 3 more big breaths. This pose is super sneaky ab work too. So if you're shaking a little bit, just know so is Mark. 1 more breath. Good. Use your inhale to come up. So nice. And then bring your left knee in. Sit back on your heels for a moment. Very good. We're going to transition into some gentle back bends. It's really nice to play with dynamic shalabhasana after all of the asymmetrical standing work that we did. So I'm going to take 1 blanket, and you can do this at home. If you don't have a blanket, a towel will work, and you also can skip the props. But I'm going to take the blanket and fold it like this, and Mark's going to lay on his belly with this across his pelvic line. Good. Nice. Very good. And then bring your backs of your hands to your sacrum. And I'm not worried about bringing the feet to touch. The feet to touch puts a lot of pressure on the sacrum, and it's not wrong, it's just difficult. And for a lot of us, that feels really uncomfortable and compressive in the lower back. So like even now, Mark, bring your big toes to touch. Does that feel more compressive? Right? And then take them wide. So much more comfortable, right? And it's so, you want to do there's no bonus points for suffering in yoga. That's all I'm saying, right? So there's no, like, why, I want to know why your feet are together all the time if it's making you suffer and it feels compressive. If it's not specifically related to a goal you have in your life that is giving you something, then what's the point, right? And all of this is to make life more of a joyride and to have more joy. So we want our practice to be that way too. So for dynamic shalabhasana, as you breathe in, you're going to reach opposite arm and opposite leg as you lift your chest. We're going to start with the right arm. So Mark's going to swim his right arm forward, lift your chest and your left leg. So we're getting this cross line in the body, right? This cross line of tension, which helps to bring symmetry. And now exhale, lower down, turn your head to the left. Yeah, that way. Good. And now left arm and right leg. We're going to go slow at first. Again, finding this cross line of tension, right to left. As you lower down now, turn your head right. Good. Now flow that with your breath. Right arm, left leg. Exhale and lower. Left arm, right leg. This is super balancing. If you're someone that struggles with sacral iliac joint pain from your yoga practice, this can help to bring some stability. I'm not telling you it will cure your issue, it will not. But when we're doing a lot of asymmetrical work in yoga, which is most yoga poses, this is a really nice way to bring some balance to the sacrum. And we're strengthening the lower back by virtue of the back bend. So 2 more sets, please. Good. 1 more set, right and left. So nice. Good. Nice. And then just rest with your arms at your side for a moment. Good. So we're going to play with the 2 ends of Dhanurasana floor bow. It's really nice to have a blanket underneath of the pelvis, because where you place the blanket, you can actually get 2 ends of the pose, which will help you to feel what it's like to have your chest up and then to feel what it's like to have your legs up. So if you have 2 towels in your house, we're going to put 1 more blanket underneath of Mark now. Again, towels are yoga blankets, and they're tri-folded. Good. So for the first round, I want you to bring the blankets just underneath of your pelvis. So starting at your ASIS, that's your frontal hip bones. Yeah, good. You'll feel, can you feel like your chest is heavy? You might need to scoot a little more up towards your head. Yes, right there. Good. So now bend your knees and grab your ankles. And you at home too, place your blankets, grab your ankles. Now kick into your hands. You'll feel your legs will come up and not your chest. Isn't that so interesting? So you can really play just the back end of the pose. You get the height in the legs. So if you have the blanket directly under the pelvic bone, across the pelvic bone, you get to play the back end of the pose. So beautiful. Good. And then gently come down, Mark. And now scoot back so that the blanket is under your belly. Yep. Just at the top of the pelvis. So before, the blankets were placed where the top of the blanket was in line with your frontal hip bones. Now the bottom of the blankets is about at your frontal hip bones, right? Good. So same thing. Now your legs probably feel very heavy on the mat. Bend your knees, grab your ankles. Yes. And now lift your chest. Isn't that so cool? Right? It's so interesting. And this looks aggressive. I promise it's not. I'm just giving him a little pressure. Doing okay? Isn't that so cool? It's really fun. You get to feel both sides of the pose. Has your chest ever been so high? Good. And then come down and rest for a moment. So beautiful. Good. Then we ditch the blankets and we do the pose without the blanket, but now we've had a neurological, a kinesthetic connection and experience with the two ends of the shape. And now bend your knees, grab your ankles. And I like to flex my ankles. Some people like to point them. It really doesn't matter. It feels better to me to flex my ankles, but it's just a preference thing. It's not a right or wrong. Push your pubic bone into the mat, contract your abdomen, and kick up. Does that feel a little different after doing isn't that cool? Look how beautiful that is. Nice big breath. 2 more big breaths in Dhanurasana. And if you're like me and you don't have big back bends, it's okay. Still, again, your practice is your practice. And the goal of a back bend is to take the intestines and the lungs away from each other, to potentiate yourself and open your front body. And that's what we're after. Good. Nice. And then rest for a moment on your belly. So from there, we're just going to flip over onto our back. One time in a class, I told Mark to flip over like a pancake, and he tried to not use his hands. That's why he just started giggling, and so did I. Good. So bend your knees, bring the soles of your feet on the floor, and just pause for a moment here. This is a really nice position. Again, it's called core resting pose. It's especially nice if you bring the knees together and the feet a little bit wide. So again, you can relax your psoas muscle, which is one of your deep hip flexors, and you can let the femoral head, your thigh bone, just really rest in the hip socket. So when you've done a big back bend like Dhanurasana, you want to back away slowly. It's like you ran into a bear and you want to back away. So one of the mistakes we often make, and yoga teachers often make, is teaching a deep counter pose right after something that was kind of extreme. And what you actually want to do is back away slowly. So we're going to do a smaller back bend before we do a forward fold. And our smaller back bend is going to be bridge pose or Setu Bandhasana. We're going to do a dynamic variation of the pose. So place your feet hip distance apart and your palms on the mat. And on your in-breath, you're going to sweep your straight arms all the way alongside of your ears and lift your hips. Good. And then exhale, lower your hips and lower your arms. Good. Do that 4 more times, nice and slow. And we're back to that game of how do I find a movement pattern where the breath and the movement never stop. So nice. The next time you come up, stay up and lower just your arms on the exhale. Good. And then you may choose to roll your shoulders underneath of you, interlace your fingers under your back. If you're fatigued, this is a nice place to turn it into a supported bridge and pop blocks underneath of the sacrum. And stay for 5 breaths. Really taking this opportunity to enjoy the spaciousness of the chest, to feel really this paradox of the grounding and the stability of the arms and the legs, and the lift and the open in the front body. Really nice. Good. Undo the interlace and slowly come down. Good. And then just pause for a moment. I can't stress enough how critical the pause is in a yoga practice of any kind, any style, to really allow the body and the nervous system a moment to integrate what has been done. Good. Roll over onto your right side and gently press yourself up. So our next two postures are spinal twists, so we can release a little bit of the tension that may have been created from our back bending, which uses, these big QL muscles of the lower back. So some gentle spinal twists to unravel a bit of that tension before we even go into a forward fold. Our first pose is Ardha Matsyendrasana, or half Lord of the Fishes. So bend your right knee, and actually for Mark, I want him on a blanket. And again, most of us should be on a blanket, but there's a lot of prop fear in yoga studios, and some kind of messed up belief that props have something to do with that you can't do things or you're not good enough. Not that one yet. I'll tell you what to do. He's getting ahead of himself. Props, this is a throne, and yoga is always meant to empower you, never to diminish you. So you put yourself up on a throne so that you can be really elevated and connect your perineum to the earth. So you have a good connection to the core of the planet. It's out of grounding that you get to rise, and you have range out of stability. So let's get rid of this idea that a prop has something to do with failure. Or I need to adapt something because I'm not good enough. That's not what props are for. It's scaffolding and support, right? For elevation. And yoga and poses are meant to uplift you. Okay, so extend your legs, and now bend your right knee and bring the sole of the right foot to the floor, and then place it on the outside of your left knee. So you can stay right here at home, or if you wish, you can lean over and then kick your left heel towards your outer right hip. Correct. Good. Nice. And then, yes, exactly. Then pause and reorganize yourself so that you're really on a spit from your perineum to the universal above you, that Sutra Atman, the thread of the self, the great Sushumna, that there's a real sense of rise out of the stability. Good. Now from here, take your left arm up into the air. Good. Wrap your armpit towards your heart, get nice and tall, and now take your right hand behind you and spin around yourself. Good. And now you can take your left elbow to your right knee. And there's a lot of variations here. So Mark has the range to go like this, to take it to the outside, but you could also just hook elbow to knee. That's totally fine too. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Either of those variations is fine. His spine is so tall. In time, the goal with a spinal rotation is to have 360 degrees of vision, so 180 in each direction. So in time, that his left eye would look at the wall behind him, right? Yes, because there's this deep opening in the body. And the right lung is opening up, which gives you that currency line to the left kidney. Again, this is a mystical dialogue, not a medical dialogue. Good. So nice. One more big breath here. And a nice exhale, stay in. Use your in-breath to come out of a spinal twist. Yes, good. And then extend your legs in between sides. And I like to just, shake out my legs in a sort of sloppy dandasana, if you will, a non-formal dandasana. Good. And then bend your left knee. Take the sole of your left foot to the outside of your right knee. This is a place to stay for a lot of us, totally fine. Or if you wish, your right heel comes to your outer left hip. Yes, so nice. And then you're going to take a moment to organize yourself so that your perineum is like a plug in a socket, and that's going to give you the rise to the connection to the universal above you. So you can put yourself on that Tai Chi, on that Sushumna, so that invisible line of the implicit self that we associate with the spine. Good. So now you're going to take, yes, right arm up into the air, wrap the armpit towards the heart so you can really lift through the side body, and then put a spin on it. So nice. Good. And then there's a real sense of wringing yourself out like a dish rag. So you're using all those core muscles to actually pull yourself in deeper rather than just using the knee. Do you feel how you can really squeeze everything to come around yourself? Yes. And then there's this sense of we're keeping all of this very broad. And then the left lung now can cross-reference to the right kidney. So beautiful. And nice and narrow, like a sense of narrowing in the hips. It's really nice. Couple more big breaths here. Last breath. Use your inhale to come out of the spinal rotation and extend the legs. Nice. Very good. Super nice. Okay, last spinal rotation is called Bharadvajasana, and it doesn't have a Sanskrit name because it's a person's name. I mean, a Sanskrit name, an English name, because it's a person's name, and that's a whole story for another time. But for Bharadvajasana, let's turn and face the camera. I'll even sit next to you, and we can do it together, and we can show different variations. So we'll see if all of our legs fit on here. We're both tall. Let's take our legs over to the right first. So our right ankle is resting in the arch of our left foot. That sounds like we share a leg when I say it like that. That sounds kind of funny. Sit up nice and tall. Your right ankle is in the arch of your left foot. Take your left fingertips behind you and then take the back of your right hand to the outside of your left thigh. This is a weird spinal twist because you're also getting side bending. Do you feel that, like lateral flexion? And you're in a little bit of a back bend. So I want you to roll your right armpit towards your heart, so you're broadening your collarbones from shoulder to shoulder, and then turn your head towards your front right shoulder, drop your chin down, and now roll your head back till you have this nice stretch from the behind, like the left side of your jaw to your left shoulder. So nice. Good. Beautiful. And if you wish, you can lean forward and slide the palm of your hand to the floor on your right hand and then pop the chest forward even more. So good. Beautiful. And some of you might be able to take your left arm behind your back and catch your right bicep. I'll demo that one. Mark's like, no. Good. Nice big breath. We call this sexy mermaid pose, but it's called Bharadvajasana. Good. Nice big breath. And then nice and gentle, unravel that. And just pause for a minute, because that's a big shape. But you'll feel that there's like a lot of flush to that left kidney in that shape, that left QL muscle. And it's really difficult to get into this muscle here, your sternocleidomastoid, and this pose gives us that. Okay, let's swing our legs to the other side. We do fit on one mat. Height aside. I was like, can two very tall people fit on one mat? Let's find out. Right fingertips behind you now. Your left ankle is in the arch of your right foot, and now the back of your left hand comes to the outside of the thigh. And for a moment, it can feel really nice just to feel the twist, right? Before we start to move into that sense of back bend and of lateral flexion. So good. Turn your head towards your left shoulder. Drop your chin down and then roll your head back. And it's going to be a little different for everyone, but you want to find that sensation. It's like just at the base of the earlobe out to the tip of the right shoulder. And you may wish to pop your left hand underneath of your right thigh, but when you do that, what's going to happen is the left shoulder is going to come forward. Do you feel that? And then you want to keep thinking armpit towards your heart. And some of us might choose to grab a hold of the bicep. The reason we joke that it's sexy mermaid pose is because it looks like one of those kind of like a mud flap girl. You know, my grandmother had this soap dish when I was a child that I just loved. It was beautiful. And it was a rock, and there was a bronze statue of a mermaid sitting on the rock, and it was in her bathroom. And that's why I always picture that mermaid sitting on that rock whenever I do this. I haven't done it on a rock in the ocean yet. Maybe I will. Good. Nice, you guys. Slowly come out of there. Really beautiful. Nice. And then just feel for a moment. So we're going to close out this portion of the practice with Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. So Mark's going to sit on the edge of his blanket. Will you flip the blanket around, though? I'm very particular about the use of props, though. There's only one way to fold a blanket, you guys. That one's such a mess. Here, use this one. Someone did not. Look how tidy this one is. Good. That one's mine. Sit on your perineum. Extend your legs forward. And then what I want you to do is think that instead of just bending your knees, I want you to pull your heels. Yeah, do you feel how that just pitched your whole pelvis forward? So nice. Good. Take a frame up over your head, opposite palm to opposite elbow. Lift up and off of your kidneys, and I want you to fold down, belly to thighs. That's it. Good. And then lead with your sternum and come back up. Good. Nice. Exactly. So go up and down a couple times from the fold of the hip crease. Really nice. And it shouldn't be your back working if you're really in the hip. One more time. Nice. Super good. And the next time you come down, you're going to stay in your forward fold. Good. So for Mark here now, he can grab his feet, or some of you might, yes, be able to grab the block. And then we can put this guy there for his forehead. So nice. And if you have a self-clippable strap in your home, something that you can do that's really nice is to take a strap all the way around your thighs and then around your upper back. And he could do this to himself. I'm just doing it for him so you all can see. You just put the tail down where you can reach it, and then you tighten this up. And he won't have to work so hard. It's like getting an adjustment. Doesn't that feel so good? There we go. How's that feel, Mark? Feels really good, he says. Yeah, so it's like getting an adjustment from a person, only you can do it to yourself. And you can see he's really on his perineum, which is going to allow him to find a lot of length in his spine. Yes, and as his spine lengthens, he'll be able to come even more forward. Yes. And instead of straightening the legs, to get the legs straighter, if he needs more, he's going to wiggle his bum back now so that he gets even more on his perineum. Yeah, do you feel how you're even more on your perineum? Yes, so nice. Gorgeous. And you can stay here for a few breaths. This is a longevity pose. This is one you could hold for 10 minutes. We won't today, but you could. Big, steady, deep breaths. It's a longevity pose because this is where your kidneys are, and it's a pose for really recharging the batteries of the kidneys. 5 more breaths. Good. So to come out of here, please don't just sit up. I want you to make a frame over your head of opposite palm to opposite elbow. And then I want you to think that you are starting to do bhujangasana, so a little cobra pose and back bend to sit up. So you're coming right out of the hip crease. Nice. Good. Beautiful. And then relax the arms down. How'd that feel, Mark? It's nice, right? Yeah. Okay. We're going to come onto our backs and take a happy baby pose. So you can move your blanket out of the way, pull your knees into your chest. And for happy baby, your knees are coming towards your armpits and you're working towards stacking your ankles over your knees. That's not possible for everyone, right? So some people might need to hold their thighs, their calves, or their ankles, but in time, the pinky edge of the feet. And then a little sense of tucking your chin so that you have some real traction in the spine. And take a moment in your happy baby pose. Really good. And then hug your knees into your chest. Just a little massage of the lower back, any little final movements that are calling to you. And then extend your legs along the floor. And here, of course, you can put a bolster under your knees. There's no rules about Shavasana needing to be flat on your back on the ground. That's painful for a lot of us. So core resting pose, constructive rest pose, bolster under your knees, whatever you need to be comfortable. And if closing your eyes is comfortable for you, close your eyes. And first take a few rounds of belly breathing. So let your chest be still and your abdomen soft. And as you breathe in, let your belly really bulge out. We're not at the beach, right? Let your belly fully expand as you breathe in. And as you exhale, navel point gently back. Slow, long, even, smooth inhale and exhales. Just 3 or 4 breaths to start to calm your system. Good. And once the breath feels sort of steady and even, take some of the effort off of it and allow the breath to become increasingly smooth and increasingly effortless, finding its ideal rhythm for this moment. And for a moment, tap into your physical body and feel the sensations that reveal the presence of the body. Not judging, but just observing whatever sensations are rising in the body, noticing how fleeting they are. And then for a moment, your awareness to your mental body, the quality of your thoughts. Just witnessing for a moment the quality of your thoughts, the thought loops in your mind. And then non-judgmental awareness of present moment. For just a moment, touch base with your emotional self and just feel what's present in the emotional body. Maybe it's nothing you can name, but there's a place in your body where you feel emotion. And like physical body, notice how emotion is in motion and it moves. Nothing to hold on to. And then take a little pit stop at your intellectual body, the piece of yourself that's been learning and receiving new information. Maybe that part of you is enlivened and excited. Maybe it's irritated or frustrated. Again, just non-judgmental awareness of the intellectual body. And then skip your awareness along to the energetic body. It's your vibe. What silent signals are you sending? And just feel it. And then skip your attention to your spiritual body. That's whatever that means to you, your intuition, your relationship with God, your rituals. And feel the spiritual body. Do you feel balanced, enlivened, disconnected? No judgment, just a holding of present reality. Beauty's in receiving the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. And then one last pit stop into your soul body. That's your purpose. The part of you that knows your dharma. What it is that lights you up. And what's your connection to this piece of yourself today, in this moment? Again, not as a judgment. It doesn't have to mean anything. Just what it is right now. And then letting go of all of that, simply rest in full awareness of all of those pieces of yourself. Now please begin to deepen your breath. Return awareness to the physical body. Taking any movements that feel appropriate. And as you're ready, bend your knees, bring your feet to the floor, and roll over to a fetal position on your right side. No rush. Once you're on your side, you can cradle your head with your elbow. Just support yourself for a moment. And then use your left hand and gently press yourself up to a seat if it's comfortable with your eyes closed, just for a moment. And bow your chin and just tune in once again to that interior space. Appa, my teacher's teacher, used to say that the universe is always saying yes. That's what it does. Life propels forward, the universe propels on, it says yes. And that's what the affirmation is, the affirming nature of things. And it doesn't always mean it's something positive, but it persists, seemingly positive, right? And so my question to you, and that's what they say the Shri is, the auspiciousness, the goodness. It's your ability to say yes. Even to the hard stuff, to say yes. And what else? So it doesn't need to be, I don't mean an affirmation like, I'm strong enough, which that can be helpful, I'm not mocking it. But what do you need to say yes to today? It might mean, what do you need to bear witness to today? It might mean facing a fear, being in a fear. It might be full acceptance of a present joy. But what is life offering right now that our job, the auspicious thing to do, is to say yes to it? Take your hands in front of your heart, rub your palms together, nice and vigorous. And when you're ready, cup your palms over your eyes with your fingertips on your hairline. When you're ready, receive the darkness behind your hands. And then release your palms, let in the light, and welcome yourself back.